Welcome to Story Realm, where fantasy stories come to life through immersive narration. Today's story is Unrivaled Medicine God. A legendary alchemy emperor was betrayed and lost everything. But death was not the end. Reborn in a weak body, he carries the knowledge and power of his past life. This time, he will make the world bow before him. Let's begin. Chapter 3. Grabbing Medicine. Translator: Telefoata _ Editor: Regius Professor. The green figure was naturally Lu'er, who was also Ye Yuan's maidservant responsible for his daily life. Lu'er was lovely and cute, especially with a pair of bright eyes which aroused the affection of others. Coupled with a long green dress, she looked like a little green pixie. With regards to Lu'er, Ye Yuan obviously knew her well. She was his playmate since young, and also the person closest to Ye Yuan apart from his parents. Within the household as well as outside of it, nobody thought highly of Ye Yuan, with Lu'er as the sole exception. No matter how much of a scoundrel Ye Yuan was outside, Lu'er took care of Ye Yuan with all her heart. Therefore, the current Ye Yuan instinctively felt close to Lu'er, as if she was his little sister, even though his predecessor also enjoyed teasing Lu'er. In reality, even though Ye Yuan was atrocious, he actually would not force himself onto women. He only enjoyed causing some mischief. It was just that sometimes his pranks were a little over the top. Having inherited his predecessor's memories, Ye Yuan discovered that his predecessor's talent was not considered bad. It was just all these bad habits were the outcome of being spoiled. In this aspect, his father, Ye Heng, had to bear substantial responsibility for it. Except, a father's love was akin to a mountain. Ye Yuan obviously could not blame all these on Ye Heng. Instead, he felt very touched, as Ye Heng was just like his past life's father. Young master, you are all right? Lu'er bumped into Ye Yuan and was initially perturbed by it. Raising her head, she saw that Ye Yuan was full of spirit and vigor, and she immediately became overjoyed. Sensing Lu'er's concern, which came from her heart, Ye Yuan laughed and said, "I'm fine. Your young master is a lucky man. After not dying due to this crisis, my future fortunes will be limitless." Young master, you are so humorous. But Lu'er also feels that since you didn't die in this disaster, in the future, you might really be different. A casual remark sounded significant to an attentive listener. Unsure of where Lu'er's confidence came from, Ye Yuan's heart skipped a beat. Thinking to himself, this girl's thought process was really too keen. Ye Yuan instantly laughed and said, "All right, accompany young master to bring some medicinal herbs back from the fragrant medicine pavilion." Lu'er did not speak, and just lowered her head and followed Ye Yuan. The fragrant medicine pavilion was the medicinal shop which the Ye family established. It was one of the great powers in the state of Qin. Naturally, it was thanks to Ye Heng's identity as an alchemy grandmaster. In the tiny state of Qin, the status of an alchemy master was already incomparably honorable, let alone an alchemy grandmaster. Because of Ye Heng's status, the fragrant medicine pavilion possessed an extraordinary position. In the state of Qin, the identity of an alchemy grandmaster itself was a golden signboard. Hence, the fragrant medicine pavilion had always been a household name. Ye Heng obviously would not personally be out there to diagnose people, but the fragrant medicine pavilion's power was not to be underestimated. The fragrant medicine pavilion's main branch, which was situated at the capital, had an alchemy master stationed to diagnose people daily. This was not something that a small power could accomplish. Ye Yuan brought Luer inside the fragrant medicine pavilion and immediately attracted a few side glances. From the employee's eyes, Ye Yuan saw fear, scorn, as well as disdain. This made Ye Yuan shook his head silently, thinking to himself that his predecessor's reputation was really too terrible, even causing innocent bystanders to get into trouble. Ye Yuan naturally would not bother with these servants. He walked straight up to the counter and said to an alchemy apprentice, "Paper and brush." This alchemy apprentice knew Ye Yuan's status and did not dare to delay. He pulled out a paper and a brush and placed it respectfully in front of Ye Yuan. Ye Yuan took them, and it did not take much time for him to write down a list of medicinal herbs before giving it back to the alchemy apprentice. Ye Yuan was not long-winded and directly ordered, "Get these medicinal herbs for me. If there's any problem, look for my father." The alchemy apprentice swept a look through the list of herbs and only relaxed after not seeing anything overly precious. Turning around, he left to get the medicinal herbs. These herbs were very ordinary, but the prescription was not. In his past life, Ye Yuan was an alchemy emperor of his generation. Since young, he studied and memorized all sorts of pill formulas. His understanding of medicinal herbs and medicinal effects had already reached an unfathomable level. Were it not the case, he would not have been hailed as the genius most likely to reach the alchemy god realm. The alchemy apprentice clearly did not understand Ye Yuan's intention. He thought that this silk pants had a change of nature and started to play with medicinal herbs. While the alchemy apprentice was getting the medicinal herbs, Ye Yuan brought Luer to wait in the fragrant medicine pavilion's consultation room. The master on duty lightly glanced at Ye Yuan and continued treating patients after expressing his contempt. The masters stationed here were at the alchemy master level, all of whom were retainers invited by Ye Heng. Ignoring the fragrant medicine pavilion, even when placed in the entire state of Qin, they were people who had some status. Those who came to get treated were all inflicted with unusual illnesses, those that ordinary people could not address. After witnessing a master's diagnosis, Ye Yuan shook his head silently. If Ye Yuan were the one on duty, he would be able to provide several, even dozens of more superior prescriptions. It was just that something like this would be far too astounding. Either way, that master's formula would work, so Ye Yuan obviously would not take any unnecessary actions. "Next," the attendant beside the master called out lifelessly. A brawny-looking man came forward, except his condition did not look too good. His face was purple, and there was death qi around his forehead. Furthermore, he was coughing non-stop. Clearly, it was symptoms of poisoning. The master took his pulse and looked at his tongue. Frowning slightly, he said, "You are just a tiny little 8th-level essence qi realm, to actually recklessly entered the endless forest. The deadly poison of the 7 evils flowing cloud python isn't pleasant, right?" The brawny man did not become unhappy because of the master's ridicule. Instead, he revealed a face filled with admiration and gave a bitter smile. "Great master is wise, but I don't have a choice. My entire family relies on me to survive, so I have no other alternative but to become a demonic beast hunter." In the past, my companions and I only moved around the borders of the endless forest. Who would have thought that this time we would encounter a demonic beast like the 7 evils flowing cloud python? It's also because I was lucky that I managed to make it back. Both of my companions died at its jaws. After explaining, the brawny-looking man became dejected. Clearly, it reminded him of the tragedy. The seven evils flowing cloud python was a second-rank demonic beast, the equivalent of a human spirit condensation realm. Furthermore, as a demonic beast, its combat power was even higher compared to a human. The brawny-looking man was only at the 8th level Essence Chi realm, and it was likely that his companions were not much different. So how could they be its match? It was already fortunate for him to escape with his life. The master nodded and said, "You were indeed lucky. A seven evils flowing cloud python is extremely vicious and tough. Being able to escape with your life can already be considered lucky. This poison might pose some trouble at other places, but it isn't something difficult in my fragrant medicine pavilion. Except, you have to know that this is a high-grade poison, so the price isn't low." Hearing this, the brawny-looking man was ecstatic. He had already been to many medicinal establishments, and all of them were helpless on this matter. Furthermore, the fragrant medicine pavilion's remuneration tends to be very high. So unless he had no other alternatives, he would absolutely not come here. But he knew that the poison had already spread thoroughly. If he did not get it treated, he probably would not make it past these few days. Therefore, he could only brace himself and enter the fragrant medicine pavilion. Who would have expected that the master here was indeed amazing, and managed to identify the crux of the problem with a single glance? "Don't worry, master. I managed to save some money over these few years. Initially, I wasn't willing to take it out to treat the poison. However, my entire family is relying solely on me. If I die, their lives will become much harder. As long as master can treat this seven evils flowing cloud python's poison, the treatment fee will be paid in full." The brawny-looking man coughed as he said this. Wealth and opportunity came with danger. Demonic beast hunter was an occupation that lived on the edge of danger. This brawny-looking man naturally had some savings. As a matter of fact, the effects of the detoxification pill which Ye Hong refined were even better. Except, his status was too high, and it was difficult to request to him even for the refinement of one detoxification pill. Usually, he only interacted with the state of Qin's imperial family. Furthermore, the fees were atrocious. A medicinal pill of that level was obviously not something that this poor, brawny-looking man could afford. Having heard this, the master was not going to be long-winded either. Instructing an attendant, he said, "Green flow grass 6 grams, vermilion soul sand 6 grams, iron wind eagle's inner core 9 grams, and throw in some daystar to supplement it. After brewing it, let this warrior drink it, and that will do it. Additionally, prepare 2 more sets of medicine for him to bring back." The attendant acknowledged this, took the prescription, and sent it off. Upon returning, he was about to call out, "Next," when someone gestured for him to stop. Thank you for listening to Unrivaled Medicine God, Chapters 1 to 3. This is just the beginning. With over 3,000 chapters ahead, the journey is only getting started. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to Story Realm for more fantasy audiobooks. See you in the next video.